The absolute best films, the ones we really remember and watch over and over again, get pretty much most things right. Script, directing, acting, visuals, it all adds up to a cohesive whole. The director of Star Wars' Rogue One, Gareth Edwards' latest film, titled The Creator, a sci-fi adventure with a budget of 80 million, was apparently inspired by movies such as Apocalypse Now, Blade Runner, Rain Man and E.T. Having watched it, I can see all of that. But unlike those four films, which get a lot more right than they get wrong, The Creator is a mixed bag. The movie is set in 2070, 15 years after a nuclear bomb landed on Los Angeles. Humanity is at war with artificial intelligence, who drop the bomb and have them pinned back to New Asia, the only place left on Earth cohabiting peacefully with machines. Our hero, US soldier Joshua Taylor, played by John David Washington, lost his wife Maya when military forces attacked their home and has been living in a bit of a funk ever since. 5 years pass, and using the bait that his wife might still be alive, Taylor is sent on a special mission into enemy territory to find and neutralise an AI weapon with the potential to defeat them in the war. It turns out that the weapon is actually an AI child called Alfie, played by Madeleine Voiles. After a bit of a fracas, Taylor finds himself on the run with Alfie, trying to outsmart his former military comrades and fresh enemies in New Asia. But can he find his wife Maya before they're caught? And is there more to this AI child than meets the eye? There are so many things that are good about The Creator. This is a sci-fi film all the way through, and its world building is fantastically handled. Look in the background of any scene and you'll find something interesting and meaningful about the story world. It's a visually spectacular film with CGI that is superb for its budget. The world looks real and lived in, buildings are mucky, damaged, the robots look like they belong. There's no Marvel polished to within an inch of its life sheen here. In fact, the technical side of the filmmaking is assured all around. Gareth Edwards knows what he's doing with these big concept movies, as he mostly proved with Rogue One. You could have told me that Christopher Nolan had directed this film and I'd only have blinked maybe once. Parts of it almost feel like an old 80s action movie, something Arnie might have starred in. It has sharp, snappy editing, especially in the stronger first act, and a decent soundtrack with excellent sound design that brings all the sci-fi elements to life. Speaking of sci-fi, there are one or two really neat ideas in here that I haven't encountered before in a lifetime of watching and reading the stuff. I won't mention them so as not to spoil. The acting in the film is solid to great. John David Washington doesn't have a lot to work with, but he brings warmth to a character who is, being brutally honest, quite selfish throughout. The star of the show, though, is undoubtedly the young Madeleine Voiles. Every time I watch a movie starring a child actor, I cringe inwardly, unsure whether I'm going to get a Chloe Grace Moretz in Kick-Ass or an Emma Watson in Harry Potter. Sorry, Emma. Fortunately, Voiles, who was 7 at the time of filming, is great. Apparently she was so impressive in her audition that Gareth Edwards was struggling not to cry. I suspect we might see more of this one. Speaking of something I'd happily see more of, special mention goes to diversity of cast in this film. It's broad, effortless and serves the story, exactly the way it should be. So that's the good stuff out the way, now on to the bad. Because, you see, there's a real problem at the heart of this movie, and I'm sorry to say it's the script. If I could sum it up in a word, it would be rushed. The heart of this story is a journey between Taylor and Alfie. We've seen it done a million times in TV and films, Rain Man, E.T., the recent Last of Us show, but it's not over-familiarity that's the problem here. Audiences will happily watch the oldest story in the book if it's well told. This one isn't. One of the key things with a buddy story like this is that it has to be paced well. Characters have to earn their respect and love for each other through choices, decisions, sacrifices. The creator moves Taylor and Alfie through their relationship faster than a shopper sprinting through the aisles on Black Friday. This hurrying goes for major story revelations and discoveries too, which are sometimes introduced, developed and resolved in a single scene. It's all too much, too quick, and it drags on the believability of the story. There's another relationship, the one between Taylor and his wife Maya, which is equally central to the film, and yet we barely see them interacting. There's a token scene at the start, as well as a few Hallmark card flashbacks of them playing on the beach, but it's not enough to build a story around, and the payoff at the end feels as flat as a piece of paper. Ultimately, you have to care about characters, their wants and desires. That's the movie's main job, and this one mostly failed. If you're wondering why everything in this script is so rushed, it's because of these things. The film is absolutely stuffed with action set pieces, explosions, battles, assaults. Indeed, anytime the scriptwriters need to provide an obstacle to their characters, or even just move them onto another location, you can bet there'll be an explosion to light the fire. The thinking is right, but you've got to be creative to keep an audience engaged. Time that could have been spent building relationships is spent on explosion number 48 instead. There's more. The antagonists get a token attempt at humanisation at the start, but it is just token and then forgotten. The film barely explores the ethical consequences of its world beyond a few lines here and there. Some characters have no purpose at all beyond killing time, and there are moments of humour, but they normally feel awkward or forced. I'll stop there. It's important to note that this isn't a bad film. It's had thought put into it, care poured into its design, its world, casting, music. Gareth Edwards is a good director who's probably got a big future in front of him. But the creator just goes to highlight the importance of strong writing in movies. Alfred Hitchcock once said, to make a great film you need 3 things: the script, and the script. And he's right. Without it, all the excellent technical filmmaking in the world gets forgotten. It's why we remember Apocalypse Now, Blade Runner, Rain Man, E.T. It's why we still watch them to this day. And in spite of all the good in the creator, and I do recommend a watch if you're into the premise, we probably won't be talking about it in 30 years' time. Anyway, nothing more to say. This is Movie Maverick, signing out.